You ever had one of those weeks where it just seems like no matter what you do, you can't really get to the task that you really want to get to? That was my week this week. I'm taking a new course I started up on Isaiah, and it seems like there's a lot of reading with that, a lot of homework. And then, people keep coming by my office like I'm a pastor or something. I don't know. I'm joking. It's okay for people to come by my office. And then there's all these, shows on Netflix and stuff that I need to watch. And long story short, I just didn't have time this week to write a sermon. So, but I did get a guest speaker. Okay, he's just backstage. I'm gonna go get him. His name's Simon. Have you ever called out to someone to save you? And really meant it? Like you were just desperate. Like if someone didn't save you, you knew that you were going to die. Maybe that's a little extreme. See, there's different ways of calling out to people and different ways of needing to be saved. It didn't start that way with me. With me, it started with just hearing. I heard, first of all, about Jesus. He was a speaker who was going around just giving a message here and there. And he was good. I mean, he was different than everybody else. But I didn't feel like I had time for that kind of thing in my life. Now, Andrew, my brother, he was really into that kind of stuff. He was following this guy named John the Baptist. You may have heard him. He baptizes people. And Andrew was just loved. He loved John. Couldn't get enough of him. And then one day he came to me and he was no longer excited about this guy John. He was so excited about this guy named Jesus. And he said, "We found him. We found the Messiah, the one who's going to save us." And I'll be honest, I kind of said, "Great. I don't know about you, Andrew. I gotta go fish. We need to feed the family. We need to keep the business going. Maybe you should come with me sometimes." For me, it started with hearing, and it always starts with hearing. I wasn't originally interested, but I heard the message, and it kind of drew me in. But it wasn't until the next step that it really made a difference. Jesus came to me. He got on my boat and he said, "Just take me out for sure. And I want to preach a message." And okay, fine. That's fine. Again, I wasn't interested. I just wanted to fish. I loved fishing. There were some days, sure, it wasn't great. It gets cold or windy, or you just have a night where nothing happens. You throw the net out, bring it in, nothing happens. And you go back to shore that day and, or you're working with cold, wet netting. Those days you could convince me to throw it all in. But there's other days where you're just a beautiful, sunny day with just enough breeze to keep you cool. And no matter what happens, you throw out the net, bring it in, and you've got fish. And what's better than fish cooked over an open fire, freshly caught? At the same time, I knew it wasn't great. Don't get me wrong, it was good. It just wasn't great. And I felt like there was something in me that wanted to be great. And then Jesus comes into my boat, and he preaches another message, and it was one of those nights. One of those nights where it just, no matter what happened, I couldn't catch anything. And then after he's done his message, and I'm ready to go home, he has the audacity to tell me to go back out and throw the net out. He says, no, throw it out on the other side of the boat, like it matters to the fish which side of the boat it's on. I'm like thinking, you keep the preaching, I'll do the fishing. But again, there was something about him, so I did what he said. And it was in that moment that I started to believe. It always starts with hearing, but when what happened next happened, I believed. All night we've been fishing, not a bite. And now we pulled in so many fish, it started to capsize our boat. We had to get my cousins to come over and help us. And I realized there was something special about this man, something different. He wasn't just like any other speaker, wasn't like any other preacher. I mean, I knew he was better, but now there was something about him. I realized he was holy. He came straight from God. And I just told him, I said, get away from me because I'm a sinner. And then he called me. He said, follow me, and I will make you a fisher of men. I knew what he meant. He said, follow me, walk with me, go with me everywhere we go, and we are going to draw more people into this thing that I'm building. But the fact that he called me was amazing to me. Nobody had ever wanted me before. I mean, I ended up fishing because it's a family business. When I was younger, I chased after some of the teachers of the law, but they were never interested in me. And now along comes Jesus, someone who is obviously in a different category, and he came after me. So I left everything. I left everything to follow him. He called me to something deeper, something greater. This thing inside of me that said, I want to be different. I want to be more. And he called me to it. And it was great. It was great for a long while. We just, everywhere we went, he preached, he healed people, and we got to watch it happen. And then one day he did something pretty scary. He turned to us, the 12 of us. He said, now it's your turn. I'm sending you out in partners, in pairs. Just go. And don't take anything with you. No money, no change of clothes, nothing. I'm trusting you to trust me. And we did it. Part of me still can't believe that we did it, but we did it. We went out and we healed people. We did the things that he was doing, not because we were able to, but because of something that he put inside of us. And we trusted him. He called us something deeper and greater, and we trusted him. We obeyed him, and we were able to do it. And it was amazing. We got back, and it was so exhausting. When we finally got back to him, we were so tired. All of us were tired. And Jesus noticed it in us. He recognized. I mean, he knows what it's like. And so he said, let's go somewhere private, somewhere quiet. But the crowd would not leave us alone. I mean, we didn't have room to eat. They were just crowding around us. And no matter where we went, it's like the crowd got there ahead of us. I don't know how that happened, but it happened. And so Jesus sees this crowd and knows how exhausted we are and how exhausted he is. I mean, if it was me, if it was you, if it was any of us, we would just send the people away. We'd say, not today. All right, the store's closed. Come back another day. But Jesus, he had compassion for these people. It's like they were his own children. And so he starts teaching them. He gives them what they need. He taught them the truth. And then he taught them. And he taught them. And he taught them. And the day went on and on and on. And finally, some of the guys and I were starting to realize it's getting to be pretty late. And we have no food. We have no food for ourselves. We have nothing to give the people. And so, we went up to Jesus and we sort of said, I think it might be time to send them on their way. Jesus had noticed the problem as well, but he reacted very differently to us than us. See, I have to be honest, there are times when the people just became too much. We would look at the crowd and we would just see work. As amazing as it was, don't get me wrong, it was incredible. But you hit a wall. You just hit a point where you say, I can't do anymore. But no matter what, Jesus always seemed to look at them and he just had compassion for them. He said to us, look at them, they're like sheep without a shepherd. I don't know about you guys, if you've been around sheep at all, sheep need a shepherd or they get themselves in all kinds of trouble. But we still have the problem. There's no food. And he turns to us and he says, you feed them. With what? With what? It would take us months to work just to buy enough that each person could have one bite. There were 5,000 men there. 5,000 men, not including women and children. I mean, I couldn't tell you how many there were. 15,000 maybe? 20? How in the world are we supposed to feed all these people? But Jesus told us to do it, and so what do? We obey. And so we searched around. To this day, I still can't tell you how none of those people brought any food. One little boy. 5 loaves and 2 fish. And I'm not talking fish, I'm talking fish. And amazingly, he gave it to us. And we brought it to Jesus. It was embarrassing. It was laughable. Here's what we have. It's not even enough for us. It wasn't even enough for James. All right, James would go through that and be looking for the main course. But this is what we had to offer. And then Jesus takes the bread and he blesses God. He says, thank you. Thank you for what we have. And then he breaks it. And he breaks it again. And then he breaks it again. Over and over and over again. He gives someone a fish, gives another person a fish, and then he gives another person a fish. And I'm looking to see where these fish are coming from because I knew there was only 2. Hands out some more bread, hands out some more bread, gives it to us to hand out to the people, has them sit down in crowds about this size, and sends us out to feed them. And every time we would run out of food, we'd come back and he would give us more. And then he'd give us more and more and more. Soon everyone was eating, including ourselves. Ate as much as we possibly could. And then Jesus said, go get the leftovers. I was there, and I can't tell you how it happened. I can't tell you how it happened. 12 baskets, big baskets of leftovers we brought back. And all I could look at was Jesus, this man who made this miracle happen. But I was also struck by the fact that it wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for that little boy. I thought it was laughable, the amount of food we had. Such a small little thing. Such a small gift to bring. And Jesus turned it into something incredible. It made me wonder how many times in my life I might have missed out on this incredible experience because I was afraid to bring what little I had. I wasn't willing to give the gift that he gave me to see what he could do with it. But I was so excited. I mean, this was an amazing experience. We had a huge crowd of people, and this was going to be the beginning of God's kingdom on earth. I mean, you've got somebody who will feed your spirit. You got someone who will feed your body. What more could you want? And so I'm looking at all the crowds. I'm trying to identify, who could we put as leaders? Maybe do we need some soldiers? We might need some soldiers. And Jesus says, okay, boys, time to get in the boat. And he sends the people away. I couldn't believe it. I was like, we got something going here. But Jesus wasn't interested in that kind of kingdom. This wasn't his time to set that up. And so he sends us to the boat. Now, I grew up on the water. All right, I probably learned to swim before I could walk. But I gotta tell you, the last time I was in a boat, it was pretty scary. The sea where we live, the Sea of Galilee, it's known for the storms that just come up like that. And last time we were in the boat, one of those storms came out of nowhere. Have you ever been in a storm? Let me check that. Have you ever been on a boat in the middle of the water in a storm? Lightning crashing down. There is nowhere to hide. The waves are crashing over top of the bow of the boat. And if you sink, you're done. Jesus did an amazing thing. He calmed that storm. But now he was telling us to get in the boat without him. And I got to tell you, I was scared. I mean, the water looked fine, but was it going to stay that way? And so he sends us on our way, and we're rowing, and we're rowing, and we're rowing. And for whatever reason, the wind picked up and kept us from getting where we wanted to go. It took us all night, rowing hard against the waves. I mean, I could still feel in my mind how sore my muscles were. All taking turns, trying to get somewhere, going nowhere. And it's 3 o'clock in the morning, in the dark. I'm a little embarrassed by this part. But if you would have been there, you would have known what we felt. I mean, we started out scared. And then something was going on that just kept us from getting where we wanted to go. It was just an eerie kind of thing. Middle of the night. And then out of nowhere, we see somebody walking towards us. One of us said it was a ghost. Not me. It wasn't me. Someone else said it was a ghost. But once somebody said it, it started to get into all our minds. And we were terrified. This was something that had never happened before, something that shouldn't have happened, that shouldn't have been anybody there. And I was scared. And then as he got closer and closer, I started to recognize him. It was Jesus. Jesus was walking on water, which was unbelievable. I mean, we just witnessed this incredible miracle. We've seen him do incredible things, but no one has ever done anything like this before. And then I remembered my commitment. Jesus came to me. I heard him. I believed. And then he said, "Follow me. Go where I go. Do what I do." And now he was doing the impossible. But I obeyed him. I called out to him to make sure. I said, "Jesus, if it's really you, tell me to come to you." And he said, "Come." And then I was suddenly struck with the decision. Do I follow? If I wasn't scared before, let me tell you, I was terrified now. Sometimes I have this tendency to talk a big game. And then when push comes to shove, I have to follow through. But back before I met Jesus, I was fishing, and I felt like there was something in me that wanted to be greater, and Jesus called me to something greater, and now he's calling me something even further, something deeper, something greater still. Something that had never been done before. So I obeyed him. I took a first tentative step, believe me, out of the boat. And just like I can't tell you how it happened with the food, I can't tell you how this worked either, but it felt solid. And then I took another step out of the boat, still holding on. and it felt solid. And this next step might have been the hardest. Stepping away from the boat. Just staring at Jesus, just looking at him, realizing I was doing something that had never been done before. Something unbelievable. That's pretty much the end of the story. Nothing happened after that. I'll be honest. I lost my faith. I don't know if it was a splash of water that got in my eye, or just the wind, or just I started to look around. I took my eyes off of Jesus, and I started to notice the storm I was in, the waves that were pushing against me. And I began to become terrified again. And that's when I started to sink. I lost my faith and I started sinking, and I cried out, "Save me." And this was a desperate cry. I knew that I was going to die if he didn't save me. And just as I was going under with my arm up, Jesus grabbed it. And he pulled me back on top of the water and walked me back to the boat. And we got in, and then Jesus calmed the storm. And he looked at us and he said, "Why are you so afraid?" In other words, all you need is me. Look at what you can do when you just put a little bit of faith in me. You don't have to be afraid. If there was any question before, now I knew without a doubt, this was a man I was going to follow for the rest of my life. I will admit, I've done that imperfectly. There have been times when I lost my faith, but times when I fell away, times when I doubted. But Jesus is full of grace, always bringing me back. My name is Peter. I know sometimes people call me Simon. Jesus changed my name. My name was Simon Bar-Jonah. Translation basically means pebbles, son of a dove. Not exactly an awe-inspiring name, is it? But Jesus changed my name to Peter, the rock. And in doing so, he changed who I am. He called me to something bigger, something greater, something deeper. And I did something that no one else has ever done. I walked on water because Jesus told me to. Jesus called me to do it. He called me, and I obeyed. It was nothing in me, nothing that was because of me. It was all because of him. He called, and I obeyed. I believe Jesus is calling you as well. I believe Jesus is calling you to something bigger, something deeper, something greater. No matter where you are right now, no matter what you've done, no matter how far you've come, he's still calling you to take a step further. So the question I have for you, are you going to obey? Thank you.
The song I'm going to play, we've been asked to stay seated. We will sing this song later as our closing song, but this first time through, we're going to have the words up on the screen, and after the message we've just heard, we can just read through and it'll just challenge us. This one might be one that you know, so yeah.
Call me out upon the waters, the great unknown. feet may fail, and there I find you in the mystery, in oceans deep, my faith will stand, and I will call upon your name, and keep my eyes above the waves. When oceans rise, my soul will rest in your embrace, for I am yours, and you are mine. Your grace abounds in deepest waters. Your sovereign hand will be my guide. Where feet may fail and fear surrounds me, you've never failed and you won't start now. And I will call upon your name and keep my eyes above the waves. When oceans rise, my soul will rest in your embrace, for I am yours, and you are mine. Oh, Spirit, lead me where my trust is without borders. Let me walk upon the waters wherever you would call me. Take me deeper than my feet could ever wander, and my faith will be made stronger in the presence of my Savior. Spirit, lead me where my trust is without borders. Let me walk upon the waters wherever you would call me. Take me deeper than my feet could ever wander, and my faith will be made stronger in the presence of my Savior. And I will call